I'm sure it's a very busy Sunday for some of us because there is a good match happening between India and South Africa. People will be busy watching what's going to be the score. Good to see you, Mr. Pushparaj. For some reason, I'm not hearing you. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, it got automatically muted. I don't know why.
Muted. Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon to you?
Yes, 11:30 for
Okay,
me.
good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. Cold morning here for me.
Or I could see that from your attire.
Yeah, of course. It's raining from last evening. I think somewhere in a single digit I have a weather.
Wow. Okay.
We are moving towards the winter.
The
Uh,
enjoyable part of the winter.
True, but first few days it'll be wow. Then after 5 days, wow. Then it'll be like, you cannot mobilize or go out smooth as keep pouring every day.
Okay.
Yeah, it keep raining heavily, and you feel that the weather. I mean, going to 0 and 1 and keep raining, it'll be like a bit tough,
Okay.
but still enjoyable. When I talk to some of my friends, like Pushparaj sitting from Dubai, where the temperature is a bit high, isn't it? It should be
Yeah, it
close
is.
to.
30, 31, something
Yeah, yeah.
like that.
When I say to them, man, it's cold here, they say, man, please send something here. Send it here. We want.
But although it is 30, 31, we like this temperature rather than sitting in July, August with 50, 51. You
That
know,
is true. That is true. That is true. But still, I believe Pushparaj, Mr. Pushparaj, you are should be in air conditioning right now.
of course, yes. Yeah, without
Ah.
not possible.
you, you get all the energy from petrol and keep doing all the air conditioning stuff.
That's how we live here in this part of the world.
I know. Good. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. I can see Harpriya, I can see Madhavi, Pushparaj, and Kaushik. Hey, thanks all for being in the cam as well. Nitish, yeah, good to know. Irrespective of cricket match happening, yeah, you are praying for that match to win, and then you came for this Sunday prayer where we do some discussion. I appreciate it. Now, quickly address something about the exam. As I would have said sometime back, the PMI rules has been updated that when you go to exam center, your result would be given the moment you complete 180 questions, not on the screen. You have to submit. You'll take all the 180 questions. After 180 questions, a beautiful thing will happen called a survey. After 180 questions, they'll ask you how the exam went on. Did you really liked it? You'll be like, man, I paid $500 and I took 180 questions. What's the result? It's something like a married couple, and there is in a hospital. You can hear the baby sound there, but when you go and ask, how's the baby? What's a baby? And the doctor says, can you give me feedback? Then we'll talk about it. Then you'll be like, what the hell you guys are telling, man? So PMI is kept like this. You have to give a feedback. I know some of them are pissed off writing all the feedback. But point is, once you complete all the questions, you have to walk out of the room. There is a room where you take the exam. It's a very access protected, CCTV camera protected room. Once you walk out of the room, there'll be a person who's called invigilator. They will have a printer. Automatically, you submit your exam there. They get a printout here, which means whatever result you will see in a page says that you have cleared the exam successfully. However, this is a provisional certificate. We will give you the actual after going through the data forensic. So, as per the exam terms of 180 questions, you met the standard, you cleared. Now, they need 4 or 5 hours to check your CCTV, check your exam handling pattern, any misconduct is there. And then they officially declare, yes, you are PMP certified. So, this is for the people who are getting to the exam to the center. If you're taking the exam at your home, for now, till yesterday, PMI don't have a facility to show the result immediately, which means you have to wait. You have to wait how much of time? How much of time you have to wait?
5 to 12 hours.
Okay. They're saying 5 work days or 5 days. But what happened is within 30 hours or sometimes 24 hours, they're flashing the result over the email. So home-based exam is also good right now. You may not need to worry much about it. But only thing is you have to have the patience to wait for the results. That's a message. Okay. Good then. And let's listen to somebody who's getting the exam. Anyone here close to the exam?
Yes, Shri.
Let's go one by one. Who's the one said yes?
Yes, it's me.
Myself.
Oh, again.
Yeah, Pushparaj, please go ahead.
Okay. Let's start with Pushparaj.
Yeah, I'm planning for 26th, Shri.
Yeah, see, look like the way we spoke about this a few weeks or days back, it was looking like a long 26th of November. Suddenly it looks only 20 days.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. just across the corner.
Yeah, it comes out one day you will tell Pushparaj PMP, come on guys, I've done, huh? All right. So now what we do is let's learn a little more on understanding. I know you're very consistent on these QA sessions, your reading habits. Now, how much of reading is completed from your side? You're done with your book?
Yeah. I have the 11th edition, Rito, and
Okay.
I completed the reading.
Very good. Nice. How about Agile Practice Guide? You have to touch that book?
Not yet.
But since you read the 11th edition, I assume that you have touched the 17th chapter, which talks about Agile. You did it?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Then it's fine. Then it's fine. Don't need to go to Agile Practice Guide. Not needed. If at all you want to go to Agile Practice Guide, in the end of the book, you have something called appendix.
Yes.
Let me open the book. Yep. There is something on... my book is in a very bad condition. Maybe I opened it too much. If you go to page... there's no page given here. It's appendix 1, X1, X2. There, they have explained some situations. There will be a table column. If you see, there will be a table boxes given here in the box format. Right? They have explained something here.
Okay.
And these boxes you have to read.
Right.
They talk about certain things, how it will be done in predictive, how it will be done in adaptive. They'll explain that scenarios there. I would say it can be just reading after your dinner. It should not be like you have to sit and strain. After dinner, you're sitting for 20 minutes, just flip those pages and see what they're saying, right? This is one side of reading. Now, reading alone will not help for the exam. Now, we have to go to the question answering ability. Yes. So, how is your question answering ability?
I am now doing the chapter-wise and the domain-wise ones.
Very good.
Score, when I started about 2 weeks back, the score was, it started with 3. And
okay.
I reached up to now 8. But it's not consistent yet.
Okay.
Around 5, 6, 8, 7, 8. Yeah, it stands like that. I'm yet to go for the full mock-up.
I understood. Before going to full mock, are you planning to do some 40 questions or 60 questions?
Yes, 60. I'm trying to do some 60 ones.
60 also you're trying. Very good. Nice. So what we do is, since you have only 20 days with you, see, I'm started using the word at only 20 days.
Yeah.
Last month I said, Pushpa, you have a lot of time. Huh? Now I started using the word 20 days. Next time when it's good, I'll start putting pressure on you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what to do is, I would say that enough with reading. Now your aim would be to focusing on answering those 40 or 60 questions. So take 1 or 2 out of it.
Okay.
And let's take time to analyze those questions. Now, when you do 60 questions, watch out your timer. Are you good with your time? Of course, no break is there. 60 questions, you have to go at one shot. You may take 80 minutes or 90 minutes. After the exam, take time to analyze. There is no urgency to go to the next exam.
Right.
You would have said this sometime back in the class also. Yes, as a human, we'd love to take more. If you take more, I'll get better. That's a good idea. That's also a bad idea. If you don't sharpen your axe and you start going for the next exam, you won't cut the hood properly. The bottom performing in the world, the bottom performing in the world, they think that more they do, they'll succeed. The top people, they will do one, next they will sit and analyze it. They look at it.
Yeah.
If they take Sachin Tendulkar, once he get bowled out, he watched the video 1,000 times. Why I missed that ball? Why it went wrong? 1,000 times practicing. Then come back, once, one shot, they hit it hard.
Right.
So that's a top and bottom. So now we have to decide where we have to fall, top or bottom. So you have to take a time to sit and think what's happening, how things are going on. Yeah, that's how it works. It's not only for the message which Pushparaj I'm trying to put to everyone here. So please take time to analyze. We in ShriLearning in question bank, we have thousands of questions. You can take whole life, that much of questions we have. But that's not the goal. The goal is to see, am I really understanding the concept? Am I able to understand and answer properly? Yeah, that's what you have to do. So that's for Pushparaj. And Pushparaj, the main information to you is plan at least 3 full exams.
Okay.
At least 3. Okay, when I say at least 3, each exam will consume you 2 to 3 days. You take one time exam and you analyze for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because each exam will make you exhausted. If you complete one exam, you'll be like tired to the hell on that day.
Right. Okay.
Then you need another 1 or 2 days to come back with analysis, understanding, and then you go for the next exam.
Right. It's going to take around more than 3 hours, right?
4 hours you have to do. If you get 180 exams, 180 questions, it's a 4 hours. And thanks for bringing it up. In this exam, you have to take 2 breaks.
Okay.
When I say you have to take 2 breaks, in ShriLearning, it will start with a timer. And in the beginning of the exam, you will mention that once you complete the first 60 questions, you won't get any pop-up like in a real exam.
Okay.
You yourself has to stop. When I say stop, just leave the screen as it is. Let it keep running.
Right.
Because when we gave a time in ShriLearning, we gave a time of 20 minutes added, including the break.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I explained in the instruction, but usually we don't read instructions. That's a human nature, right? We don't read, just click. Keep going. Yeah? That's how we are. So our mention is after 60th question, stop yourself, walk out, have a cup of coffee or do something, 10 minutes, come back again. Again, you take another 60 questions, take another break, come back. If you do this as a practice, it will help you. One last suggestions. If you're planning your main exam as morning 8 o'clock, same time practice your practice exam also.
Okay.
So your biological clock also will get used to that.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's one suggestion. All right, but keep me posted on the WhatsApp. Are you using WhatsApp?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'll get in touch with you.
Keep me posted on the scores, what's happening. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
That's Mr. Pushparaj. Great. Then let's go to, is it Nitish or Kaushik?
Kaushik here.
Kaushik.
So I'm planning to write it on 9th, coming Thursday.
Man, only 4 more days, yeah? That's so romantic time, huh? Very close. And right, nice to know. So you should be off from your work already.
Yes.
All right. Are we in
touch? And I have visited the center today.
Very good. So how is it? You like the place?
Yeah. At least I know the place now.
Do they have samosa, pav bhajis there?
It was closed day for them, but at least I know the location now.
Okay, Kaushik, if I remember, you are on the top scale of your score in the beginning. Then it has a little drop, but still you are stable. Is it correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So you've done 3 full exams.
Yes.
Very good. Did you analyze all this exam question paper after your test?
Yeah. Thoroughly examined. I make the necessary notes also.
Very good. Did I give you some bullet points to work out last few days?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just following exactly that thing only.
Okay.
So those appendix and those roles
Okay.
from the books. And
keep doing. One other point in that you should add is you have to read PMBOK 7 and or Agile practice, get glossaries. If you go to this end of the book, there will be something called a glossary. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have read it a couple of times. Yeah, it was mentioned in your note.
Of course, you can't remember everything. I know there are something in Agile practice guide, they call it as definitions. Okay. They will tell what is life cycle. They will tell what is Kanban board. All will be one line. Again, as I was
Yeah,
pointing to Mr. Pushparaj, it should be after dinner reading. Just flip it. You can't remember all, just read it. Okay, that is sufficient.
yeah, exactly.
Right. How it will help is in exam, you will see this as a word coming in the question in between somewhere. You get a clue that, okay, it means this.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, then. So I think, Kaushik, you are good enough to go on for the exam, but we have to connect over the call.
Sure.
Yeah, we will
come
plan
back.
by Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll get on the call.
Anytime that is suitable for you, I'm fine.
Fine. You are which country you are?
I'm in Australia, Sydney.
Australia. Your time zone. What is your current time now?
So it's 9:46 p.m.
46 p.m. So I have to call you in the morning hours for my morning hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's sync up by Wednesday. If not, if I start and post lunch, then it'll be midnight for you. All right. Let's do this by Wednesday. So keep up the momentum. Between, you have any questions?
I'm fine. I approached you a couple of times and I got the clarity. So I'm just following those things only.
Very good. Nice to know. And you checked your ID card, name, spelling, matching with the application?
Yeah. So for me, I need to carry my passport here. So the
that you
same
checked
name.
out already?
Yeah, I checked with PMI.
Okay. Sometimes it pass. Okay, you checked it already. Then it's fine. For people listening here, be very careful on your name spelling. In main exam, they will check, is your ID card exactly mapping with the application? For example, Shriram Kumar. For me, it goes like Shriram Kumar, as there's a space between Shriram and Kumar. But in passport is attached Shriram Kumar. And what happened is they said, no, this is invalid because there is no space here, but you're given a space in the application form. Man, for space, no, ID is ID. They won't accept it. Those things will not work there. They're well trained for that purpose. They will not show any emotions there. They will say, no, go. Of course, you'll have another ID card. You will bring it up from your pocket, from your bag. This creates unwanted, little bit 10 minutes of up and down. So I recommend you check properly. And if you have any doubts on this, you have to directly reach out the online portal of PMI. There is a chat. Just you can chat with them, tell them that, hey guys, I have given like this. Can you update the spelling? They'll check the spelling, correct it out. That way it gets clear. Okay. That's Kaushik. Thanks, Kaushik, for that. And any other person who's having close to the exam?
Shri, I'm planning to take it on 24th.
24th. Okay, you're also coming closer here. I saw your WhatsApp, and I hope you started your analysis on the question paper. What you did?
For today, I've not started yet, but I will. Next couple of days, I will do the analysis.
Very good, very good. Don't go to next exam until you understand the gap.
Yeah, sure.
But for 24th, did you booked already?
Not yet.
What's the plan? Online or at center?
I'll go with the center.
Center you're planning. Which city you are right now?
Bangalore.
Bangalore, right? Bangalore means I think they've got one center right now.
One is in Dickinson Road, which I know the center. There's another one near Lal Bagh.
Lal Bagh, yeah. Okay. Bangalore, I sometimes feel little tough to get the center availability. So keep checking right now if you want to book it.
Yeah, in case I don't get the center, then maybe I will take it from home.
That's also the best idea. As you have good internet and power supply, should be good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Any other person here for PMI-ACP, Agile Certified Practitioner? If not, let's get into assumptions and constraints, a topic. Okay, let's jump inside. All right, good. Now get to this. I'm sorry. What's the topic? What's the question?
Yeah, I have a short question actually. So once we book that exam, is there any chance to reschedule it?
If I understand your question, after you book your exam date, can I reschedule that exam to a different date?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. There is some timeline is there. Within this timeline, if you do, without cost, extra cost, you can change. If you get close to the date, 7 days or 30 days, I don't exactly remember the dates. There are some dates, 7 or 30 days, I believe.
30 days.
30 days. Then they charge you $70. If I'm right, they charge you. So answer your question, yes, it's possible. And choice is yours, when I want to reschedule it. Worst case, go for rescheduling. If not, I would say once you decided, go for it. Don't reschedule. That will be an extra cost and unwanted dragging of your pressure.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Because sometimes the rescheduling, it looks nice, but it's unwanted pressure. Now what I do is I have to bring up the content about assumptions and constraints. Have anyone heard this term assumptions in your life? Forget about project management in your life.
Yes. Yes.
What is your assumption today, Madhavi?
Well, I want to tell it as a realistic, so I don't want to assume. My assumption today is it may rain in Bangalore.
It'll rain in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Assumptions will become true or false?
It may or may not become true.
No, good, right? It can be anything. Nice to know. Jasprit, what's your assumption today? Assumption is your mic will work. Is it assumption? Seems your mic is not working. Yeah. You assumed mic will work, but it is not working. Man, that's a bad assumption, isn't it? But you have a good balcony, man. Good. Well
You're
maintained.
on mute, Mr. Jasprit.
No, he assumed a mic will work. It's not working.
Oh.
Okay. Thanks for those inputs. What we do is I'll have a couple of slides to talk about assumptions and constraints. I'll get in there. What I do is I'll bring up the content. Are you seeing the screen, what I'm sharing right now?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see these two words. Even though it's a very simple terminology, I would say this plays a major role in project management. Shri, what do you mean by major role, man? From the day one of the project, we start looking into two factors in project management. One is called assumptions, other one is called constraints. This travels from the first day when you sign the contract until you hand over your product to the customer. Shri, what do you mean by customer here? I would say it could be external. I would say it could be internal to your company. I may do to some department work or I may give to external customer. Whatever model of project I do, these assumptions and constraints play a major role. What do you mean by major, Shriram? It is something, if I don't follow this, I will fail. High chances are we may fail. So now what to do for this? I will explain what it is. A quick heads up here is assumptions could be the demand and supply could be good for the market. You have an assumption on that. You will have an assumption about your competitors in the market. You may have assumptions about the resources available. When I say resource, it could be human, it could be material, it could be equipment. You may have assumptions about the market condition, how it's going to be. Now, these assumptions can be either true or false. However, we assume true when we start the work. When it goes false, it can bring some new problem or can be something different consequences in the project. Now we have to understand when I say assumptions are done by whom? Is it an individual? Is it a project level? The answer would go, it's as a whole, as a team. As a corporate, we assume certain things will be this way. As a project team, we assume something. As a resource of a corporate, you assume something on your own. But all these assumptions should get on a document. Usually, when they do a project scope statement or they come with a project scope collection, they talk about the assumptions around these requirements. Ideally, we do a project with a requirement, right? Coming with a bridge construction is a requirement. Could be a new solar panel system in the city. Could be a new project for that certain requirements. Your assumptions are around these requirements. Even though your corporate is an individual entity, even though your corporate is under a pharmaceutical background, a construction background, a finance background, it has its own assumptions. On top of that, most of your assumptions will be around these requirements. I'm assuming this will be this. I'm assuming this will be this. And you'll record it down. Before I go more deeper on this, you have to see one more parameter called constraints. This constraint is a very common word in project management where they use 6 constraints of project management. In the screen, you are seeing 4 of them. When I say 4 of them, you are seeing a budget as a constraint. You have to know who imposed assumption, who imposed constraints. You have to see both of them. Before that, budget is a constraint, time is a constraint, scope is a constraint. And these 3 are called as a triple constraint, or it's called an iron triangle. A pretty important constraints in project management. By the way, you can remember this a terminology. You have to play in the borderline. A borderline is drafted for you. This is a requirement. There's a borderline. For this requirement, this is a time, a borderline. A budget has a limitation. It's a borderline. So you will play within this borderline as a safe game. Same goes with something called as a quality. Okay, this is one of the constraints. Do anyone remember a couple of more constraints are there? What are these?
Resource,
Risk and
customer
resources.
satisfaction.
Right. Resource comes as one of the constraint, and risk also considers a constraint. However, when you go to Rita book, you will see something called customer satisfaction. Even though you don't see this as a terminology in any management books, explicitly sending as a constraint, it's implicitly a constraint. If something doesn't meet the value of the customer, if the customer is not happy with what they are getting, then there is no point in delivering in time within the budget, isn't it? You give something within time, within the budget, but they're not happy. Then what's the point of doing it? So these days, when I say these days, last 10 years or 20 years, we are more focused on customer orientation, or we call as a customer centricity. That's a focus. Now, what I do is I'll take some bullet points to explain a little more on this. First, let's start with the constraints. Now, what is a constraint? As for the screen, let's understand some text. I have some text to read about it. Project constraints are, look at the word carefully, limitations or restrictions. Now, question to people here. Who impose this limitation? Is it market is imposing, or any thoughts? Who will impose this limitation in a project?
In a project, the stakeholders.
Exactly, rightly said. They are typically defined by project sponsor, client, or stakeholders. Why they give this limitation? Any idea? Why they have to give this restriction?
Because, because if there is no limitation, then the project will never complete. The budget will.
Exactly. So you have a limitation of money, how much you can spend. You have a limitation of
setting
time.
the expectations.
Setting the expectations. And within this budget, within this time, what sort of requirement can be completed, right? Do we go with this parameters?
Yes.
And now, rightly mentioned, but Shri, come on, man, Burj Khalifa building is happening. It is from one of the richest country. Let me ask Mr. Pushparaj here. Mr. Pushparaj, do you think for a Burj Khalifa also this constraint would have been there?
Definitely, there might be multiple constraints.
But that's a richest country, isn't it? You're sitting in a country called Dubai, such a money flow. Do they need to have a money constraint?
Well, money won't have a unlimited value. There will be limitations.
However rich it is, we have a limitation, right? You cannot keep, if you leave it, rightly mentioned, you will not have a time to close it. If you don't have a limitation, you don't know the boundaries. It also goes back to Parkinson's law. Work expands to the time what you have, right? I know we can expand our more budget, we can expand more time, but there should be some limitation restriction. Now, this is mostly imposed by when I say imposed, it has been defined, it's been asked, requested by the sponsor of the project. In a Burj Khalifa example could be someone at the high official level or the government level, you get the funding. For your PMP project, you have a limitation, isn't it? Somebody says, I'm going for the exam on November 26. Someone says, I'm going for 24. Somebody decide already December 20th, I'll do my exam. You have a limitation. And you will also have a funding limitation. End of the year, you don't want to spend the money on the exam because you have your festival happening. You have to spend money there. Now, point is, these constraints are imposed and that can affect the project requirement. That can affect your timeline. That can affect how much you can spend for the project. That can affect what the resource available. Now, question is, when this is being started discussing, I would say it starts from day one. Day one, you start talking about what is the constraints in the project. Some of the examples, fixed deadline, it's given. Some limited budget has been discussed, what can be given. Specific deliverables is a constraint. This is what I want. This is how it should be. Regulatory requirements imposed from external market also could be a constraint on your project, right? Available skill sets in the market, available skill sets in the domain, available skill sets in your company, available skill sets in your project. You have multiple layers of constraints. You have to play within this game. But come on, man, I want the best in the world. Yeah, everyone wants the best in the world. But what do you mean by best? We don't know. What we have right now is this is what it is. It also falls under the category called EEF. What is EEF?
Enterprise
environmental factors.
Factors, right? Those factors also influence your constraint, isn't it? But constraints are explicitly exposed by the sponsors. Now, question to you. Can we overcome this constraint in a project? When I say overcome, they are saying a 10 million is a budget, but your requirement is getting added and you feel that 10 million it is not sufficient to complete the work. How can you overcome this constraint? What is your thought?
If not overcome, maybe you can control those
constraints. So just now I said requirement is getting more added. Let us imagine there is a new high school construction work is happening. For this high school construction, they thought 4.5 million, the project will be done. It's a very big school. Now the school department comes to you and asking, can we add a research center inside this school? We are seeing more students are interested on more research these days. We want to keep a center. This requirement was not discussed earlier. Now when they added, the constraint of money and time is going to be increased. Now question back to team again here. Now when they bring a new requirement, will you say no for the new requirement? Or will you do impact analysis? Can I overcome or can I upgrade this constraint?
impact analysis.
We do impact analysis, right? Impact analysis. But it doesn't mean that because we did an impact analysis, we'll agree on all the part what they said. We are going to play within this. The whole project of day one till the last day of the project, your role as a project manager, portfolio manager, or a program manager is keeping your eye open enough to see, am I within these boundaries? If I want to expand my boundaries, is it mutually agreed between all the parties? Actually, why are you using the word mutually? Mutual is a word which your team, your corporate governance structure, your customers, your stakeholders, everyone is clearly aware that we had a constraint, but we agree that we can't do that within this constraint, so we have to expand it. When they expand it, doesn't mean they open the gate. They are just stretching a little more, but still the constraint exists. The boundary has been expanded. Now, in project management, many risk parameters, issues, or quality things will be impacted because of this constraint. Within the time, you have to do something, so there'll be a problem. Within this scope, you have to complete something that could create some issues. Within this budget, you have to do something that can bring some new risk parameters. Now, as a project manager, you keep these constraints in your mind, and that is also you do a calculation called EVM. Do anyone remember EVM?
Yeah, earned value.
Earned value management, EVM. From 1950s, we have. It is initially started using from US Defense Force. Primarily, EVM helps you to see the performance of your project. Where you compare your performance? You compare your performance against 3 baselines. What are the baselines?
Against the work completed, budget, and time.
Okay. So you have 3 baselines called a scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline. And rightly said here, you compare against a performance. What we thought, where are we? What we thought, where are we? Now, constraints or the limitations or restrictions which is being adhered during the project and which is also imposed by the sponsor and the client or the stakeholders. When they come here, you may negotiate to increase the boundary that you do in the beginning of the project. Or when the project is progressing, still you'll work to increase those boundaries. The reason for doing that is we know that we can't do within this constraint. How can I expand it? So my project can have a lesser risk, lesser issues, lesser quality problems. Yes, Madhavi, what do you want to add?
I have a question around this. The example that you took about the school construction and addition of the scope with regards to expansion or building of the research department. My question here is initially in the scope. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm again going back to yesterday's topic, but I have some doubt around this. See, we discussed that the budget, scope, and everything are the constraint, but what if any of the materials cost or labor cost goes up unforeseen? So are we going to utilize the contingency reserve for the project, or will it be again discussed with the stakeholders and the budget will be relooked? That's my question.
That's a good question. If you observe, we discussed something in the vendor management, that is contracting.
Right.
In contracting, you found that there is something called fixed budget, right? Fixed contract, cost reimbursable contract. You remember those contracts?
Yes.
Right. In those contracts, we have clauses which explains if there is a inflation, if there is a thing, they talk about it, what to be done. So first level is on the contract level. On the contract level, what we agreed on these kind of situations to do. It is not a blind market we are working.
Right.
This market, for me, it's new. For you, it's new. But the market is not new. It is there for thousands of years. The day when we started living in the cave, we are still doing the business. We are doing projects. So we know as a human being what to be done. But that's nowadays written in the contract. Those days, it's not a contract. It's a words. By words, they agree. Or they believe on God or something they give. But now we have a contract. So first answer to you is a contract. Second one is, yes, there will be negotiation. They'll bring in this topic with a sponsor to see that if this constraint can't be achieved, then that becomes an impact analysis. You go through and see the impact. A vendor who have to supply a total lot should come from China. We know the problem with China, right? Many countries have border issues. And the problem comes in, and now China don't want to supply, or we don't want to get from China. Now you're moving your supplier from China to Brazil. But Brazil is not the nearest country to Asia. So it's going to take a longer time. And they have their own quality issues. Now this you have to contact with whom? Your sponsor to talk about, we're going to do this. This will have an impact on the system. If it's a major impact. Minor impact, your team will handle it.
Okay.
So answer your question, yes, they will do this impact. But starts from the contract.
Okay. Thanks, Shri.
Yep. All right, then. Let's saw something on the constraints. Let's see something on the assumptions. Let's see something on assumptions. What is it? Constraints looks interesting because given by the sponsor. Project assumptions, on the other hand, are belief, look at the word, beliefs that are likely to be true. See, what is it? Likely be true. We thought it will work or happen in the project, but are not certain. We are not sure it's going to happen. It may or may not. Like Madhavi was pointing out, I believe it may rain. If somebody working in a meteorological department, weather report department, for them it's very clear. But somebody sitting from outside a little bit away, when I don't have a knowledge about it, I may believe certain things are good. In your project, you may not have all the information right in front of you. So you go with an assumption. So assumptions are based on experience, based on knowledge and expectations. Yeah. And can also affect the project requirements, timeline, budget. These assumptions will hit there. What are the examples? Stakeholder support could be an assumption. They may give a support all over the project on requirement or quality check or deliverable or mutual communication. We are assuming that they'll do this. Resource will be available in the market, human or material. Like Madhavi was pointing out, what if I don't get the particular resource? What will happen? Market demand should be stable. Technology reliability, customer satisfaction. Now, these are the assumptions we start our system. But what if assumptions go wrong? These assumptions are nice. I record down in the beginning of the project in my scope statement. Okay, I assume this. When I collect all the requirements with my stakeholders, before I put the budget or timeline, I can even discuss with them on the assumptions. On the ground of assuming resource availability, this will take 6 months to complete. Come on, man, why you assume it? Why don't you tell concretely, yes, it will be available? You don't know. Because in the market, we have a word called uncertainty. But come on, man, you are in the market for 100 years, your company is for 25 years. How come uncertainty will break? Possible, right? Anything can break in. Who thought a COVID will come and many things will turn into a virtual? COVID has changed the way of life of many countries, many places. Today, COVID, tomorrow something else will come. Now, there could be something keep popping up regularly. Nothing happens, fine. We go by the assumption, all works. Resource available works. What if assumptions go wrong? And that can turn into some risk parameters. That can turn into some of your issues, problems. Now, playing or handling assumptions is a very important part, but you cannot blindly assume everything on a go. So you have to have a conversation with your stakeholders, conversation with your team members, understanding, is these assumptions are true? Even though you don't have a fact. What do you mean by fact? You information, data, but you assume certain things will be good. A question to people here. Do you think when we start a project, apart from constraints which is imposed by the sponsors, we also have some assumptions? Is this true?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, where you see these assumptions will be recorded?
Assumption log.
Assumption log. Okay. I heard another project. Charter. Yeah. In project charter, you see high-level assumptions. But you can also create something called assumption log, where you can record all the assumptions. And these assumptions will also connect with your scope statement. Why assumptions should connect to the scope of a project? Why?
Because initially maybe it starts with assumptions, and later on, like, once it is finalized, then it becomes part of the scope.
Well said, well said. Now, rightly said, assumptions play a major role when you do all the detail collection. Based on the assumptions only, you understood this work could be done by this quality, by this set of resources, by this timeline, by this budget. But sponsor is giving a constraint. That's nice. We agree the constraint with an assumption, we can complete within the budget. On what basis? Based on the time and people availability. So many work starts with the assumption. Now there are some tricky things. Let's see them. I'll put this one words. Now let's see some comparison with that. So you'll get more clarity. Assumptions are believed to be true. Look at the word. Believed to be true. Believed. Without facts, you believe it will be true. While constraints are true in nature. Take a second and observe it. Assumptions are believed to be true. Who believe this to be true? Is it the sponsor or the project team?
Project team.
Project team.
Project team believed it to be true. Not a sponsor. Maybe we'll discuss them. But the main belief starts from the project team. Assumptions are believed to be true by the team. Whereas constraints are true in nature. These constraints are given by who? Given by who? Just now we saw that.
Stakeholder.
All the stakeholders.
Sponsors and stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, could be some key people. Could be a PMO, portfolio management, your company, governing body, mainly sponsors. Now, that's true. That's the money you have. That's the time you have. Maybe you can negotiate with me, but that's what you have right now. Assumptions are believed. We will get the fund released every quarter. Assumption. We believe the right technical people in the market will be available. We believe stakeholders will give the correct requirements at the right timeline. That's a belief by your team. Yeah. Now that's the difference between these two. Assumptions are good for the project. Look at the word good. Why it is good? Believing on this only, you're moving forward. Okay. You assume certain things will happen. So the positivity, the motivation to do a job starts from the assumption. Assumptions are good for the project until it is true. While constraints are not always, look at the word, not always favorable. Question to people here. Why it is not always favorable? Any thoughts? Why? Why constraints are not always favorable?
Mm,
You have a limitation, right? Time and money limitation. Is it favorable?
No.
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 Let's take the same example of a high school construction work happening somewhere in, let's put, since I heard Kaushik from Australia, let's take Australia. Kaushik, you're in Sydney, right?
Yes, Shri.
Okay, let's take Sydney. In Sydney, there is a high school planned up, $5 million. 5 million is very less, but shall I put 5 million? Now, constraints are not always favorable. Now, constraints are decided by the sponsors, 5 million. Like Madhavi was pointing out, due to inflation or due to some factor, certain price went high. Or something has happened which you have to increase your border limit, the border limit from 5 million to 5.5 million. It's not favorable, right? They're not going to increase you. Not every stakeholder is ready to say. They say, man, public school we are bringing up is on a public welfare for which there is a funding limitation. You don't get all the sponsors giving you money all the time. This is what we have. Within this, what you can bring. So now it is not always going to favor you to make the best out of the things. You will play within that game. So point is, while constraints are not always favorable, which means it can also turn favorable. One, the same money what is given is sufficient. Or you can even expand the border. Both are possible.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
moment we
constraints.
know that we have a control, that this is the end limit, so that's always something that we need to be within that.
True. We love to be that, but it doesn't go in that way.
Yeah, so there's always that always may not be favorable.
Yeah, yeah. Even for now, when you go for a shopping with your family, I know many of us don't have this mindset of boundaries, but sometimes it doesn't sit in the boundary, right? You thought something, when you go to shopping and come back, you see the bill, you'll be like, God, man, we didn't think about it. It goes beyond that. So we love to be within the boundary, but it goes. But are you capable of doing that? Rightly, you all discussed about the discussion, impact analysis, but not all stakeholders, not all sponsors, not all situation, you get your constraint expanded. It is limited, fix it. Last point. If assumptions become false, okay, let's go to the negative side. Negative side. Assumptions become false. It is a bad news. Question to you. Why assumption becoming a false is a bad news in a project?
Yeah, because our plan works as per those assumptions. We assume this will happen and we work accordingly. But whereas constraint, if it is turns false, sometimes it is good.
Okay. Why don't we assume like this? Assume it will not work. Why you don't assume like that?
I think that's covered under risk if it is assumed that way.
There you got it. I was expecting the answer there. That's good. When you assume something doesn't work, it goes under risk. But in risk also, you have positive risk, negative risk.
Yes.
What is the thought there? Okay, it's all interrelated to one another. Primarily, when you talk, lightly mentioned by Kaushik or Mutana, when the project starts, we put certain assumptions to see true conditions to make it move forward. You do not debate and fight for this area. Assumption is you find a true condition. A true condition would be is without facts, we assume stakeholders will give us a support. Technology will be available in the market, and we have proper budgeting keep happening. And also, we also see the backside of it. What if it doesn't happen? That will be recorded in the risk register to see that if it doesn't happen, what action to be taken, what to be done. If it has to happen, what kind of enhancements or exploiting I have to do. If stakeholder has to give the budgeting on timeline, what all I have to do. So assumptions is a kind of a check sheet you have with you, and that will help you on your project and requirements, time, money. You will also keep an eye on the risk handling on this area. So message you have to see here is assumption becoming false is not a good news. But are you aware of it? It's going to become a false. Are you prepared for it? And that shows your maturity in the project. I know this assumption could become false. Okay, nice. What you have done? I'm ready for it. I'm ready to handle it. And that maturity is called project maturity, where you converse as a project team. It's primarily for team, right? Your project team, portfolio management, program management, project management, PMO, your core team, engineers. You will sit and talk. What if something goes false? Yeah, that's primarily there. Now look at the word, this one. However, if constraints are false, this is positive. Why constraints false are positive?
There
Why
won't be
consistent?
Means there's
limitation.
scope for expanding the boundary.
The boundary is expanded. Or
Nice
can be
question.
shrinked also, right? Not always expand, could be shrinked also. We don't know. As per the need. But the point is somebody put a draw line and that line is getting a false. You no need to play within the line. You can go outside the line also. Nice sentence, right? One getting a false is a little danger. One getting a false is good. But playing within this where you have your risk management, issue management, quality management. And overall, what you play is a 6 constraints of the project management. You play within this. Yes, Mutana.
Shri, I just had a doubt. So if we are talking about predictive, so almost everything is pre-planned, and we are looking into the future and planning a lot of things. So I was just thinking, considering the whole thing as a project or an activity, there might be many stages that we are thinking forward. So the assumption list can go on and on. So is there some, when you say that resource might be available, this might happen, that might happen, all this we are thinking forward, but I don't know where to draw a line, as in, okay, this is it. Um, um, how do you draw a line, as in when you're thinking future, anything can happen. I just wanted to know if there's some kind of check we have in.
True. One thing you have to understand, rightly you pointed out, the list could be very long. Now, that is the reason they do something called a continuous check on the assumptions and the risk in the project. They will keep the assumptions and risk together to check out what are the assumptions we assumed right now. Is it still true? Or is there any learning for us? You assume something as a project started and you cross 3 months timeline in your project. In 10 or 100 assumptions, how much of it's true? It shows 90% or 70%. It shows maturity of your company. It shows maturity of your project. Now, after 3 months, when you make assumptions, you get mature. Now you make a better assumptions. However, other side, you took 100 assumptions, out of which only 20 true, 80 went wrong, which means your assumption maturity level is low. You will work on it. And this is a continuous process in a team. They bring an assumption log and go with that. Guys, there is no point in adding 100 or 1,000. Let's look at what we have done in the last 3 months. Did we make the right assumptions, or our assumptions are wrong? Means, are we not mature on the technology, business, people, where we are lagging? So that tuning they have to do. It's a continuous learning process, as a lean management says.
Okay. So it needs
That's how it works.
getting updated, and whatever unnecessary needs to go off the
Removed out.
Yeah.
Okay. If not, your life is full of assumptions, right? At the age of 20, you had a different assumption. At the age of 35, you have different assumptions.
That's right.
Now, when you look back, your age of 20 assumptions, sometimes something looks a little stupid also. Man, how do I assume that? Man, it will work. You go back little and see yourself and correct it. And this is called maturity model. You start improving.
Yeah, got it. Thank you, Shri.
Fantastic. Shlesha.
Yes, Shri. Actually, I have a question with regards to this last sentence. So when we say that, assumption, if they fall, it is a bad news. But if it is assumed and if it is part of our risk register, and then if we have our response plan available for it, assuming that this is a kind of a risk, then also, are we considering it as a negative?
You want to take any example?
So this school example.
Very good.
Adding one extra section would actually maybe helpful in a way, but otherwise, like if we see in terms of timelines, let's say if we want to start school by some some month or some particular day, then that would not happen, let's say. But by adding that particular department, if it can be helpful,
Very good.
then it is always good, right?
Now, what you said now is constraint. Adding a requirement. You're adding a requirement. You're talking about constraint. Are you talking about assumption or constraint?
I'm talking about assumption mainly.
What you said is a constraint, not assumption. What is the assumption about coming with the project work? Are you talking about fund available? Or are you talking about stakeholder communication? You're assuming these things will work. What I got your example is adding another department is a constraint. You have this requirement limitation, time limitation, cost limitation, and you're telling that if I add another department, what will happen? So that is on the constraint side. Assumption, the example what you gave could be more on constraint. Let's go on assumption. When I say assumption, let's look back this. I'll bring that content. Probably it'll help you to imagine more. Look at some of the examples of assumption. Examples of assumption. Let's take an example of technology reliability. Okay, I think this is a big problem in the recent market, right? We have AI coming in, we have new concepts coming in, and some concept works, some doesn't work. Many of your project activities, you don't need to be a technical person, but many of your project work, even in the construction, we rely on the technology available in the market, including using the crane or a CAD system or designing the building. I'm taking the construction itself. Reliability on the technology, it's an assumption. Now let's go to your question. Your question is, first the thought here is assumptions to be true. If it's true, nice. If it goes false, what will happen? Not a good thing, isn't it? We assume it will work, now it goes bad. Now your question is, if we mark that in the risk register, will it be nice? Obviously nice. That's a mature team. You mark in the risk register, if in case a technology becomes obsolete. When I say obsolete, not needed in the market, not used in the market. For example, the building construction, some technology are using, testing it. They say that by December, it won't be available. It gone. Now in risk management, you written a risk strategy. If in case it's not available, what is the alternative option you have in the market? If you did that, I think that's a good job you did. So ideally, your assumption log should help you to mature yourself. It doesn't mean you have to fight between risk register and which one is the highest value. No. You have to see, will it help me in the risk register? It's only helping hints for you. You got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a point. All right. Then Jasprit, by any chance your mic worked this time? Huh? No?
Yeah, now it's working. Is it?
Assumption
is it good now?
Assumption is true. It worked.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So can I assume that you got a hint of two words, assumptions and constraints right now?
Yes.
Yeah. On constraint, I want to say one thing, or I'm
Sure.
not sure whether it is true.
Sure.
That if the
Oh man, I believe your voice is breaking there. At least for me. Is it for me, for everyone?
For all of us.
For everyone.
Today, Jasprit, your assumptions are going tough, man. Okay, let him come back. I think you want to talk something about the constraint. Meantime, what I do is I have a couple of questions to bring up today to discuss. Before I go there, do anyone have a question which you took recently and you want to talk about it? You had a crazy question. Not the question which your spouse asked you. It's about the question from PMP. Sure, Madhuri, my spouse asked a question, I couldn't answer back. No, that question I can't answer. Only you have to answer any PMP question. Okay, if not much, then what I do is I'll bring up, you can also bring up the question later also. You can put your hands up later and tell me that you have a question. What we do, I have this question paper with me. I'm going to bring one question. I assume Jasprit will come back and start the conversation. Until then, let's go. Here is a question. Please read it. It's a little lengthy question. Take time, read it. And put your answers in the chat box.
Today I did this in the mock exam.
Very good. You can do again. You'll get double bonus. I look for your chat box for your message.
In terms of direct cost and business value, the next internal
Okay, since some of you started answering, I brought this question with the mindset to talk two topics here. One is assumptions, one is constraints. Now look that from a perspective of PMI. Can you let me know, is there any assumption you see in this question from a project team? Any assumptions team had in this question?
To go live.
What is that?
You were preparing for go live.
To go live. Okay. You're feeling that team has assumption to go live. That's an assumption?
They're preparing to go live.
It's an action, right? It's an action or assumption?
Preparing is action. Yeah.
It's an action. I don't think it's an assumption. It's a preparation. It's an action. You're doing something. Any assumptions in this question?
Yeah.
Fixing the issue
Regulation will require at least 6 months of development.
Let me read it. The next internal audit, what do you mention here?
Fixing the issue will require at least 6 months.
Fixing the issue will require at least 6 months. So this is an assumption by the team.
At least, yeah. At least this word is assumption.
Can this assumption turn into constraint? Maybe. Let's see. Wait. Okay, yes. I hear one assumption. Now what we do is, okay, any other assumptions in this question?
They assumed that they are, they will be compliant to the state
regulation.
Would that be meaningful?
That is one key. You are close to the key. One more step, you get the right assumption in this question.
The next internal audit is due in 10 months. It is assumption.
They assumed that the legal team had, they had done their job of.
Okay. Close there. So now you conduct a cursory root cause analysis and find out that the state regulation was announced months after the product design was approved. When they started the project, did they start with an assumption the regulatory what they took is correct?
Yes.
Did they believe that regulatory is correct and that assumption is true by the time?
Yes, at that time.
Yes.
Now that assumption went to false now?
Yes.
Okay. So assumption went false here. State regulation was announced a month after the product design. This was an assumption you started your work. After you started, it changed. Are you getting a feel that in a project, an assumption can go false?
Yes.
Not always. It can happen. Okay, this question is not only for assumption. It doesn't come for assumption. It came for some other reason. When I read the question, connecting with the topic, I found that there is an assumption here and that went wrong. Nothing you can't do here because it's happened. You could question back, Shri, this could be a risk management. Yeah. If you're a very clever and very mature team, you will call it as a known unknown. What is a known unknown? Known unknown. Identified risk. Whether it is identified. Is it identified risk or unidentified risk?
Unidentified risk.
No, identified risk. Contagious risks.
We don't know what this team has done. Whether they identified or unidentified, we don't know. Okay, let's park the assumptions, constraints, risk apart. Now let's go to the question. Okay, let's go to the question statement. The next internal audit is in 10 months. What should you do now? You found that your work, what you did is not as per the regulation. Now what to do? That's a question. I see answers mostly went with A. Let me pick up someone to talk about it. Oh, all are A. Wow, man. Okay, let's start with the Hema. Hema, why you thought A is an answer? Any inputs? If Hema is not ready, then I'll go with someone. Nitish Pawar. You want to say something? Am I audible to the people?
Yes.
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 Okay, then I go with the people who said yes. Why you thought answer is A is right?
Yeah.
See, I
Hi,
think
Shriram.
that's the only option available because the others are some kind of
Negative.
Yeah, negative plus they're not going to yield the final result what you want.
Okay, Pushparaj, I'm seeing you looking a little broader in this case. Why you thought it is not going to yield the last benefit or final benefit? What is that?
Okay, see, one is say let's take C. The answer B is ruled out. Okay, there's no question on that. Right. And now the option other than A is C and D. The C tells, okay, you go ahead with that. In the meantime, you will fix it later.
Okay.
Right? That's not a lasting solution. One. The next one, D, it's a kind of a reprimand the legal team for not keeping. That's an action on the background. Again, that is also not going to be a final solution even. So yeah, we are ending up with the option only A.
I see your point. Okay, let's go to another voice. I heard another voice. Who is that? Want to talk something?
Yeah. Hi, Shriram. Hemna this side. I was not able to unmute myself, so now I'm able to.
You assumed unmute will work today. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, the same what Pushparaj has said, like cancel the project is not a right thing. Second thing is go live with the system, but fix the issue before the next internal audit, which is a wrong thing. It could have said that go live with the system, but then fix it once after it is live. So it should have, C is not making sense till the internal audit. And D is like reprimand the legal team for not keeping tabs. So this is like blaming situation, which is not the actual PMP thing.
Makes sense.
So first thing, first one makes sense for me. Like if I rule out the other answers.
Very good, very good. Nice, Hema. When I say something, you mentioned it is not PMI thing. Are you hinting something towards ethics?
Yes, Shri.
Why you thought it's ethical thing in this question? Just to understand.
PMI is all about ethics and values, I feel.
Not only PMI, as a human, we have to do.
Yeah, of course.
Now, why you thought that term, how it popped up? It's a good thing. I'm not saying bad, it's a good thing, but why that popped up in your mind in this question? You did a good job just trying to understand how it popped up in your mind. Not only her, anyone else. Why it's an ethical thing in this question?
Might be because of reprimand the legal team.
It's a government regulation that is.
Okay. So when they say you are managing a development of an accounting system, okay, for an organization, you are preparing for go live. When you realize that the system is not a compliant, anything on the compliance we talk about, it's about the regulations should be followed with a state regulation. But she's accounting, right? What's a big deal, man? Going out of compliant. We don't know, right? Anything could happen. This system could be used in a hospital where because of complaint not followed, the system is not working or could not solve the problem. A patient who have to get admitted or get discharged will be delayed for hours or not get the medicine at time. Come on, man, where you are connecting? Accounting system to the hospital, somebody's dying there. Or you connect like that? You have to see all the parameters, right? You cannot think that, okay, it's just a question. Yeah, I know it's a question. But how do you see in real life? When you do a job, but see, I'm going to office, work with a laptop and go home back. I don't know what problem I'm doing. You don't do anything directly. Every action has a reaction. Something is happening around the world. And when you read a question like this, that's why I ask Hema how it popped up for you. It's a good thought. we should think about not compliant with the state regulation. But complaint, non-compliant is a big trouble. Could be, we don't know. But you have to go with that compliance. You conduct a cursor root cause analysis and find out the state regulation was announced months after the product design. So you can't blame anyone here. Either we should have an SME. That SME should have given an idea this regulation would change, or be prepared, have a risk register ready for it. We don't know what happened there. Fixing the issue will require at least 6 months of, 6 months is huge, lot of time and money going to hit. Now you let me know, will this hit constraints also in the project?
Yes.
Yes.
Budget.
Maybe, right?
Time.
So we have a boundary.
It is mentioned, right? So it will increase that cost and
It will, right? It will increase, yeah. But maybe there is an efficient manager like you who is going to negotiate and tell that, no, not 6 months. I will do within the time. Possible, we don't know. But point here is, it will hit your constraints. Now, point to mention in this question is, when you read a question in a scenario question, look at what kind of assumptions are made in this question. What kind of a constraints it will hit. This will also give an idea to answer it better. But I like the way everyone answered here. Inbuilt, you all have the thought process of ethics. The ethics here is not to cut the corner, to go in the right path. That's what I realized when everyone answered here. Which means you did a good job, and the answer goes with A. So what A says here, rightly you all said, if the product is a non-compliant, look at the first thing, you must not go live. And there is no excuse to say anything. If it is non-compliant, no. What is a complaint? Complaint could be regulations, rules, quality, parameters which you have to follow. You need to issue a change request along with a justification for the change. Let the department sit and talk about whether to accept it or reject it. The point is, always keep in mind an exam or in real life also, anything non-compliant should not go live. This is how your mom did when you are age 1 and 2. 1 and 2, why? She don't feed any food to you, it doesn't meet her standard of non-compliance, compliance standard. Is it what your mom did? That's why you are alive today?
Yes.
Right? If your mom doesn't follow the compliance, you won't be healthy today. Your mom follow the compliance or her own standard, whether she's from the big university or never went to school and college, but she has her own compliance. She followed it. That's why you are here. So you have to be strict on that when you do this. And then that is a day, there is something called leadership born within you. It's not from certificate, it's your character. PMI want this in the exam hall. That's why PMP is one of the top most certificate in the world. Was it a good day today? You learned something?
Yes.
Amazing. All right, good. Any questions? I can help you today.
Shri,
Yes.
I'm really not convinced with the second point on your second slide on the assumptions.
All right, let's go for it. Let's go for it.
It talks about the constraints are not favorable always. The constraints are never be favorable. So in my context.
Let me come to this point. I believe you are talking about this one, right?
Yes, this is the one. The second part of the second sentence.
Good for the project. While assumptions are good for the project because you assume certain things.
That's fine. On the constraint.
Are not always favorable to the project objective. In order to achieve the project objective, we have certain constraints. We have constraints of scope. We have constraints on schedule. What do you mean by constraint here? A set of limitation. You have to remember the word limitation and restriction. Right. The point is scope, schedule, cost, and it goes for resources, it goes for quality, it goes for risk. Let's understand a little bit on this. When they say it's limitation and restriction on these 6 parameters will not make your project objectives always favorable. When I say always, so you're feeling that it is not always. It could be once or it could be some.
At times it is favorable. This is what it meant there.
Okay. You feel at times it's favorable. Why you thought it's at times favorable?
I mean, this is what I could read from that sentence. While constraints are not always favorable, it never be favorable, right? Constraints.
Yeah. Okay, Pushparaj, if I want to observe from you, constraints are not always favorable to the project means you want to say instead of always, never.
Never.
Okay, that's a word you want to put there, not always.
Exactly. Or we can say constraints are always not favorable.
Okay. I mean, rearranging the term would have been a little more clear. That's what you want to say.
Yes.
Constraints are not favorable or never favorable to the project. Okay, I get your point. Instead of saying or not always, say that never favorable.
Always not favorable to the project.
Okay, then I go with it. Let me put the English word in that way, that format. Okay.
No, Shri, I feel it depends on whose perspective you're taking. Probably for the sponsor, it might not be the same case.
Okay, you're saying from sponsor perspective. From sponsor perspective, what it is here? What is it for sponsor perspective?
I mean, they sponsor or constraints are good for them, right? They want the project team to operate within
the time,
boundary.
within the money. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So it is favorable for them. I mean, if we look at it as in the perspective of a project manager who has tight boundaries to manage within, I guess then you'll feel that, oh, this is not going to happen. This is never favorable to me.
That's a good view. I like that. You're seeing from both the angle. I like that. So Pushparaj, what do you feel about this? A two angle now. That's life, right?
Yes.
But anyway, these assumptions and constraints mostly seen from the project perspective. The never is looking a little hard word there. I will not replace never there, but I would say that not always or always not a perspective, which says that the team have to play within the boundary. That's the intention of this topic. But I'll also listen to this word saying that if I look from a sponsor perspective, I want this work to be done in 9 months. It can go 10 also, 9 months. It's favorable to me. I'm making them to happen in the 9 months. Is it the point? I think that's
right.
That's an idea, right? That's a good idea. I like the thought. You see from two perspectives. All right. Thanks, Mutana. Thanks, Pushparaj, for bringing this discussion. Makes us to learn something, seeing from different perspectives.
All right,
good. Thanks a lot. So request people who are getting to the exam, stay in touch. Please keep me posted on the WhatsApp what is happening, and keep up the momentum because this course or this subject needs that energy. Yes. If you lose that energy, it starts dropping down. For how to hold the energy, join our Sunday prayers. We call Sunday prayers. Join our Sunday prayers. Once you get certified, come to this prayer, sing some songs, let people get energy. When I say sing some songs, how do you clear the exam? Come back and talk about it because your couple of tips will motivate someone else who is going to prepare for the exam. I know these people here sitting not easy. You are a father, you are a mother, you have a family, busy. I know you have a tough timeline. So irrespective of that, if you're going to listen and going to go for the exam, it's a big deal you're doing. On the exam, still now I've not heard exam is super tough. Still the people tell it's a moderate. When you say moderate, after practicing ShriLearning, when you get a decent score of 65, 68, 70, even though ShriLearning we say only 75 is a good score, still if you get 60, 65, 70, it's a decent score to go to the main exam. But if you drop below 55, 50s, that is a bit risky. You are on the borderline. Okay. But this calculation does not go to 10 question paper, 10 question exam. This calculation number, what I gave is for 60 questions or 180 questions. Only then you are being tested. 10 is just for knowledge purpose. You are not tested there. You're actually tested when you sit for 60 or 180. Yeah. So take this test, keep me posted on your scores, and then we'll move towards the target. Great. All right, then. Hema, I saw your message. You gave a personal message to me. Come over the WhatsApp because this is a live, which is in YouTube. Also, I have to get ready for the next class. you can contact me directly in the WhatsApp. I'll talk to you. We'll understand how can I help you. Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Enjoy India-South Africa match. Let's rock. See you all.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Shri. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.